adding it all together, time for a trip down the rabbit hole. Okay. Take your 5 sections. You've made the impact assessment, the timeline breakpoints, the criticality, the dependency map, and resources required. Everything except for the dependency map now can be combined into one chart if you want. So we have sales, we have admin, we have ops. I think I did ops before admin, but whatever, reorder it. Put it in the order that you have, or you're not using my chart anyways. Hopefully you made your own for your own business because that makes more sense for this. Ops, we have finance, we have IT, and we have marketing. Okay, you now have the impact assessment. So we have impact. With the impact assessment, you're going to have financial, operational, and reputational impacts. We're then going to have timeline, which is going to have RTO and RPO. We're then going to have criticality. We're going to need a bigger board. We're going to need criticality. And then we're going to need resources. Your criticality is going to have basically your level and reason. So you're going to have level and reason. And your resources are going to have critical and optional. Now, this is one really, 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 really big chart. When you combine all of this, you're going to be able to look at one of your functions or processes or applications or whatever you have designated and go, got it, operations, when it goes down, I lose that, and that in that sort of time. I need it to be back up by then. I need to back it up that often. It is this important for this reason, and it requires this stuff to work, and this stuff is the nice to have. You can broad sweep and go, that is how that works. I understand what that is now. So all of this is copy paste from the previous things you've made so that you can bird's eye it. Alternatively, you can have 4 pieces of chart paper, you can leave them separate and just look at it. But for a lot of people I've seen, being able to look at it in a big row makes this way, way easier. Okay. Now we get to combine this with the dependency map. So what I want you to do for now is just figure out what the stuff was in each box, kind of record it, take a note, and put this in front of yourself so that you have this. I'm then going to take the dependency map out and I'm going to show you how to take some of the information from this and map that onto it to combine this with that. But you're putting these two things basically together, and this doesn't get discarded. This becomes a great resource for you later to see, I get how that thing works, I get how that thing works. Dependency map, 6 things. Sales. We put admin down here. Finance was here. We had IT up here. We had ops here. And we had marketing here. We had our boxes. That arrow was partial. That was double lined. That needed that. That needed that. That needed that. And then IT went into everything, then finance went into everything. Okay, so we have IT is going there, and then that, but that was delayed. And then we had finance. Okay, and finance was this way because we said payroll reasons. Okay, we also had our timelines for all this. So this was 2 weeks. This was 2 weeks. 2 weeks. This one was 2 years. All this 2 weeks up there. That was 1 week. That was a month or something. These are times don't really matter right now. This is just an example. This was a year. This was a month. This was 2 weeks, I guess. I forget. Doesn't really matter. This is an example. And then we had 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, and 1 second. Now, this was our basic dependency map. We can now add in criticality and we can add in RTO. So within each box, what is the desired RTO of the thing? We haven't used yellow yet. Let's use yellow. So for ops might have an RTO of 1 week. Finance has an RTO of 1 month because of paying bills and whatever. It wants to make sure that it doesn't have contractual problems. Admin might have an RTO of 1 week because of backlog. Marketing has an RTO of 6 months. Sales has an RTO of, I forget, let's put in 2 months. IT said a day or something, or 2 days, or I don't know. I don't forget what we put, who cares? Day. Okay, so now we have times with times in colors and a whole bunch of stuff. Once again, this is a really good time to get really big chart paper and get a bunch of different colors to make stuff consistent, because this is becoming a murder board. You know, one of the things where they have all the lines and the where did it go? This is becoming a bit of an endeavor. In addition, we now also have criticalities. So how important is each thing? We determined that sales was criticality 1, ops was criticality 1, marketing was criticality 5, admin was criticality, dependent with ops was criticality 2 or 3. I forget, I'm going to say 2. We remember IT was criticality 2, I think. I forget, 2 or 3. And then finance was criticality, I believe, 3 or 4. Okay. We have a board here. We have stuff. When we combine this dependency map with this, we can now start precision striking this business and figure out how to destroy it so that we can undestroy it through putting solutions in place. Look at your resources required in the resources chart. Pick a critical resource you want from any section. Pick one. Doesn't matter. Just pick one. That is gone. Because reasons. Doesn't matter what the reason is, it's gone. Critical staff, you have 3. They're all stuck in another country on vacation because of some sort of border services error. Whatever. The resource is gone. Okay. What section is that part of, that critical resource? Let's say it's part of finance. We knock out finance. You're going to ask yourself a question. What level of criticality do I want to prepare my business for? Do I want to only make sure I'm good at criticality 1? Do I want to ensure criticality 2? How deep into this do I want to make sure things are okay? You're going to do 1 for sure. So your question is, how long until that thing, that resource, knocks out a criticality 1 function past its RTO? So look at the RTO of your criticality 1 functions and see how it gets there and how long that takes. So let's say the lack of people, resource, whatever from finance has knocked out finance. In 1 month, finance's RTO gets triggered. For whatever reason, finance has said that it can basically do its job for a month without being online. Now, it's very possible that this is not the case and they are lying. They think they can, but they can't. It may be the case that when finance's RTO starts ticking, Really, that 2-week impact happens immediately. But we'll say, for the sake of argument, there's a backup or some redundancy in place or something where finance doesn't hit a real problem where it starts affecting the rest of the business that it's connected to until its RTO expires. Fine. After 1 month, this 2-week timer starts ticking. So finance is out for 1 month, and now suddenly payroll is delayed. Payroll is now delayed. After 2 weeks, ops gets knocked out. After 2 weeks, sales gets knocked out. After 1 week of ops being knocked out, you have hit the RTO of ops. This is no longer a tolerable outage. The business has said, I am not letting this happening. I better make sure that my machines are running within a week, period. Got it. 1 week plus 2 weeks plus 1 month, approximately 4 weeks, is 7 weeks. I need to make sure that no matter what, all of the staff could die, doesn't matter. My finance critical resource of staff, so staff for finance, have to be completely replaceable and back up in operations within 7 weeks. And that's the main reason why you do this sort of thing. You can now determine what your absolute break point is for everything. Now, this is going to be approximate because there was a lot of variability and a lot of maybe stuff in this. I will probably come up with a different number than a client comes up with, but whatever the client thinks is reality, and that's it, okay? If they say that this is the time, then it's the time. You can do a bit of pushback and you say, well, what about? But if at the end of the day, if they say, look, this happens after a month and this is 2 weeks, then that's the numbers they tell you. This company, this business cannot afford, is unwilling to accept a loss of staff in that section for more than 7 weeks, period. Whatever succession planning you have to do, whatever hiring strategy you need to create, doesn't matter. It has to resolve this problem if everybody dies within 7 weeks. They could not be dead. They could be in comas. They could just get poached by a competitor. Doesn't matter. This resource must be up within 7 weeks. Now, it also has to be up within, all of this plus 2 months, and 1 month plus 2 months plus 2 weeks there, you're looking at 3 months and 2 weeks, 3 there, you're looking at brain 14 weeks. So it also has to be up within 14 weeks for sales, but the 7-week one hit first, so whatever. So sales is happy because ops is happy. Another way to look at this, imagine this line didn't exist and ops was the only thing that was criticality 1. So there was no direct line between finance and ops for whatever reason. Let's just say that's the case. Finance not paying admin could result in admin going out, resulting in ops going out. A very indirect dependency. So finance goes out for a month, admin gets knocked out after a week. This results in admin knocking out ops after 1 week, then ops is knocked out after a week, hitting your maximum, your effective RTO, really, the thing that, the number you really care about, tied to this resource. 1 month plus 2 weeks plus 1 week plus 1 week, that's 1, 2, 4 weeks, that's 2 months, which is 8 weeks. So if you go indirectly, it gets knocked out in 8 weeks from this failure. There's a whole, you can play with this any way you want. The point is you can just pick a resource, that's gone, let's see what happens. That resource is gone, let's see what happens. This is what's known as a cascading failure. This is a failure that cascades through the organization. You can map it. If you've ever heard the term cascading failure before, like in a nuclear meltdown where the thing hits the thing, this is the thing, this is how you can map it simply. Now, I know to some people this might seem really complex and there's a bunch of numbers, but I guarantee you this is simpler than nuclear physics. And if you do something like this, you will fundamentally understand your business or your family, or when we get to Bob videos, if you know. This is the basic idea. We combine all this stuff together and you can just watch it go through everything. But we didn't bring in impact. Well, think about it. This goes out. We now know what impacts we're accruing because it's out on what timeline. Then it knocks out the next things. Then we see those accrue. You can see over time and add up how your impacts cascade. We lose this resource, and then after a week, we lose this. After 2 weeks, we lose this. After 3, and you can watch with time how these add up. You can see approximately, because once again, there is some variance in here depending on how accurate this information is, you can see how these things manifest in the company. If it's a critical resource, you can see exactly-ish how much time it takes for a lack of pencils to bankrupt a tech billionaire. This stuff is wild. It is absolutely wild. If they are fundamentally critically dependent on pencils through some obscure sub-process that's just connected in the wrong way, that knocks out the whole company. You may have one staff member that just happens to be absolutely necessary for this niche thing to run, that they're in this little office in the middle of nowhere. They're just this, very nice elderly person that keeps to themselves, that's been around since the founding of the company, and they're unassuming, and then suddenly they retire. Oops, in 1 year it turns out you had a problem. But now you knew it was coming. This stuff is wild. Anyways, so that is the general idea. And this is what happens with a function-based or a one-level-based analysis. If you are doing this at 2 levels, so let's say this was a process, so you're doing function and process. Let's say we have the 6 functions here, but let's say we're doing the processes for each of these. Each one of these sections would have its own massive chart and its own dependency map. So what you would do, and this is what chapter 5 leads into, which I think I'm going to basically say, hire me or someone like me and buy the book, because I'm going to need 7 of these boards and your mind's going to explode. It's too much. What you end up having to do is basically you have 5 or 6 of these, and all of these have arrows going between them. My best setup for this is basically you get a multi-walled room and you put a bunch of these on one wall. So you have like the sales wall, then you have the admin wall, and you get kind of like a diagonal wall, and you put the ops there. And then you get string that is in 3 dimensions going between the chart paper all around you, and you got to try to not step on the webs. Or you get computer programs, because that's more sane. The point is, that's more complicated. Do this first. You don't need to do that. Do this first. Once you get really good at this, then you can look at doing the other stuff and 4-dimensional objects and all the rest of this.